Hi there, parents, maybe some students. Deacon John Wilson here, Education Enrichment Director of West Angeles Church, here to talk to you about something that has me greatly concerned. And the goal of this is to get my parents who are in our program and in LAU, LAUSD, and in Long Beach and the surrounding areas to start thinking about why the, the training in math and reading is so bad right now coming out of the pandemic. There was a very disturbing report, that came out yesterday and the day before, I believe. I'm not totally sure of when I flipped about this. I didn't want to get on and do a video right away, so I got a lot more facts. And it opened up some very interesting questions that I'm going to think about here right in front of you. I've thought them through, actually. I want you to see my train of thought and what you need to do. You are the taxpayer. You are the parent. These are your children. My Lord, I need you to care more than you ever cared before about the mathematics learning condition of your children coming out of the pandemic. This could have lifelong effect on their education. I need my K-4 parents to listen very hard, because I need you involved in your schools, your public schools, even your private schools if you have to, affecting change. I need you visiting classrooms. I need you in school board meetings. I need you in parent meetings. I need you holding these schools accountable for the fact that these math scores coming out of the pandemic are horrible. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but one part of this, which is they did it to us, the teachers union leadership, not the teachers. They forced these teachers in a place where they had to stand in favor of the lockdowns. And I'm watching the national union leadership say they never did this, but they did. They insisted on lockdowns. And we said it didn't make science sense, because children, as we know now, are not super spreaders. And we could have designed ways to keep young children away from grandma. We should have been protecting our older citizens. I've talked about that here, but I don't want to get into trouble with YouTube or somebody. But I'm telling you, that was the source of this, especially Black and brown kids in the inner city. They've fallen behind. I'm speaking to youth now in my homework club. They are so behind. Very basic math they're struggling with. I have seniors trying to go to college, trying to get the SAT, that it's affecting their performance. There's going to be impact of that. So we need to shut it off at K-7, K-8. And I'll tell you how our program can help you in a moment. We want to help you, but let's get the facts straight right now. So I want to be sure you have the facts when you go to vote in these school board elections. I'm gonna mention this again later, but I think the people who are currently in office were the ones that authorized these lockdowns. They need to go. They need to go. Vote these incumbents out in your school board election. I know you usually don't vote for school board. I understand that, but somebody has to be accountable. You are their boss. When you go to vote, read about these candidates. If they seem to talk more about what the union wants and what's best for teachers and don't mention you at all, a lot of them are right out in the open. I know in my school board election here, one candidate is totally, fully supported by union leadership. And their teachers in Long Beach that have told me they don't like their union leadership and they're not able to do their job. They don't dare speak up because you know what's going to happen. You should vote for candidates that care about your children. It's a very basic thing I need you to do. All of you can vote in your school board elections. Throw the incumbents out. You must do that and start over. And then you need to get involved in your local school. Take time off from work. I know it's hard to do that. I need you to go to these school board meetings. You can go to them virtually now. They're now online. Go watch these meetings. You'll be surprised at the decisions they're making that you have no control over. These area superintendents are kind of like in hostage state. That's why LA Unified has had so many superintendents. They don't have the kind of power. They find out it's all political. It's the leadership of the unions that are very powerful in this state. I know a lot of people are going to see this video and are not going to be happy, but I bought the receipts. I bought the information that concerns me, and I bought some serious questions that I'm going to ask LA Unified leadership and Long Beach School District leadership, Compton, Inglewood, to answer. Where is the money you got for COVID? Where were your summer enrichment programs? You spent no money on that. None. It was federal money. You got all kinds of funds that you've not used. A lot of it's going to expire. Why are you not getting extensions from the federal government and hiring the people you need? They'll say, well, we have labor shortages. Well, that's why you got to look at your mandates. These mandates are not scientific, but I'll let you think about that. There's some good people. My goodness, I've lost 3 people from my program to work for LA Unified. So there's good people out there who can teach your students. There's retired teachers. There's retired professors. There's people like me. I would go into the school and help, but they'll never ask me. I'm putting it out there now. I will. I'll bring my people in to help with after school with any school in around here. All right, let's get into this. I got some things I want to show you. Look at this article here. This is an article I got from the New York Times today. Math scores fell in nearly every state and reading dipped on the national exam. And it is really pronounced. It's worse. These numbers are worse in California. But look how they fell. National proficiency levels in math and reading, 2022. This blue is proficiency. Only 36% of science proficient, 33% fourth grade reading, 26% math. You can see all these students in the gray that are not proficient. And these have fallen from 2019. They don't clearly say it here. They've fallen 20 and 30%. When you read through the article, I will put the link in the bottom. When you read through the article, you'll see that, look, the findings raise significant questions about where the country goes from here. Last year, federal government made its largest single investment in schools, $123 billion, or $2,400 per student, to help students catch up. School districts were required to spend, at least this is in late 21, this has been a whole year, actually early 21, spend at least 20% of the money on academic recovery. A threshold some experts is still even inadequate. Remember, they had their regular funding. This was additional funding. With the funding set to expire in 2024, they think they need more funding. But I have a serious question about where the funding went. Is math and reading for states? I believe we can show all the states here. I believe we can see down here somewhere in California. Let me see if I can find it. It's way down here, I think. There it is, way down here, 30%, 23%, 31%. Are you believing this? Look at eighth grade for California. There's a chance your student's not proficient. They're not reporting. By the way, parents, they're not reporting the scores to you in California until after the election. I wonder why. Vote the incumbents out. They're covering up for the lack of performance, 30%. Coming out of this pandemic, these students are so weak. The math problem. Students today are still performing better than 30 years ago. The last decade held steady. But this year, that stability was shattered. In 8th grade math, the average score fell in every state. You might say, well, California's doing okay, every other state. Look at their what's happening worldwide. Worldwide, math is getting better globally. Yet, as a country, we're falling. What implications is that going to have on national security, on research and development? That math is where it all begins. You can read this article. It's really pronounced. But that was just one reason. I wanted to show you the problem. And you could read through it. But look at this. Look at this. Schools got $122 billion to reopen last year. Most has not been used. Wait till you see what the story is in California. I'll include the link to this too, but it's really bad. They looked at a few schools. Look at Baltimore City Schools, DC Public Schools. Baltimore City Public Schools haven't spent any of their money, over $400 million. DC Public Schools. Yeah, this is why this is a national issue too. This is a national political implications. And it's an issue that's coming up in some of these races for Congress. But I'm not going to get into politics here. All right. But this is the point here. We've not spent a lot of money on masks and protection from COVID. That's great. But look how far we're behind. I want you to look at this article too. This is a great article. I'll include its link in the bottom once I post it on there. Okay. All right. But now look at this. About how much California school districts and charter schools received in COVID relief. I didn't have time to go over all these, but look at LA Unified. I will look at Long Beach too in a minute. LA Unified received $4,576,142 and $11,000 per student. $11,000 per student. There's your COVID aid, there's your COVID 2 aid, there's your COVID 3 aid. That's how it all adds up. Remember, all this was going to go to putting equipment in the classrooms, about 40% of it, but the lion's share of it, a big share, was going to be, as you'll see in a moment, on educational programs to catch the students up. That was what it was supposed to be. And these were the federal appropriations that were made. And now we're sitting here in 2022 and seeing the lowest scores ever. You might say, well, there hasn't been enough time yet. Well, there has. They received in 2020 this money. There's been nearly 2 years to catch up. This last part was not as big as the first two. What happened to the money? It's just sitting there, not used, as I'll show you right now. Here's the actual spending. The actual spending is over here. I went to this site. I'll send you the link. And over here you can see that I've isolated LA Unified by using this drop down over here. There's other school districts I could have looked at. In fact, we'll look at Long Beach in a moment. Here's $2 billion allocation here. Here's the total spent. This is just ESSR 3. But what about 1 and 2, you might ask? Anywhere, they haven't only spent 8.6%. That's terrible. Look, money spent on enrichment learning. There was no summer learning. The LA Unified spent nothing this summer to catch students up. Nothing was spent over here. Nothing spent on after school. They could have gone out and put out grants to programs like ours to do that work for them. I want to ask about that. Why haven't they reached out to community-based organizations? Because we couldn't get that funding. Only they could get it. Tutoring, nothing. That's $2 billion just sitting there while your student is struggling in math. And most of them are, I'm telling you. I bet about 2/3 are struggling in math. Just from looking at my students I've worked with in the homework club, after school, some of my programs around Long Beach, I see a lot of slowness with math. I'm particularly sensitive to that. What are we doing with these funds? What is going on? I think they're just not letting the parents know. They're not letting you know what's happening. I'll put all these links in below. They're not letting you know. Throw the incumbents out. That's the only solution here. In California, we need to throw out the superintendent of schools. He's a good man, most likely. His name is Thurman, I believe. I think we need to put in Larry Christensen. That's a personal preference. It has nothing to do with our church. Our church doesn't take any political positions, but I'm taking an educational position for your children. We need to start all over. We've got to break these political things up in the state. Why is it that we have mayoral candidates, a mayoral candidate that's supporting people for school board in Long Beach? They're not, those systems are not related. That's totally political. They're using the school board to launch their political careers. Our last school board rep, she's now running for city council. When they're running for city offices and promoting their careers from school board and the performance isn't there, I have to say we got a problem. We have a big problem. I need you to think about that. I need you to get down to your schools. Find out LAUSD, when are you going to get the scores? What's going on with your students' performance? Have you monitored their math performance? Don't just rely on getting a grade. Ask them how are they learning it. Send them to us. We have an enrichment program if they're struggling. We could take on some more students. I'm reloading. I'm bringing some more contractors in. I lost a whole bunch to LAUSD, ironically, who has a teacher shortage. So I'm supporting them. I'm letting my people go on in their careers. It's great. I wrote the recommendations. But you have got to get your students, parents, take control of that. I'm going to talk about this from a Christian perspective, probably in about 3 or 4 days. But I can tell you right now, they've got to fear parental involvement more than they do here in California. God bless you. I hope that helps. I want to see us grab our own equity. Don't wait for white folks to take care of us, white progressives. They're not going to take care of your children. It's not going to happen. Parents need to do it yourself. You need to take over yourself, my Black and brown parents, and take control of the education of your students. Because when they come out, you want them to have a bright, bright future, just like me. Call me up, comment below, email me, get your students involved in our enrichment program. And I think you'll see their lives much better through the power of our Lord and through our interest and love for your children. God bless you. Bye-bye now.